Okay. This is my audience for today. We have these guys, and then these are my 3-note cards. Nothing on the backs. All right, here's the phone. My name is Dalton May. I go to Southeastern Community College in Iowa. Today I'm going to talk to you about electric cars and why I believe they're not the most ethical solution to the world's pollution. At first glance, people tend to believe electric cars are a perfect solution to reduce pollution, but this mindset dismisses the glaring flaws with the ethics that come from manufacturing and really does ignore any superior solutions that are out there, which I do believe that there is a significant one. My first point to this is that electric vehicles require very complicated electronics to function properly. And these electronics take a lot of rare metals that all in all are very hard to obtain and expensive to get repaired. That leads to my second point, where obtaining the metals relies on sort of systematic borderline slavery in developing countries, which is kind of a disgusting thing and something that is very much ignored. My third point is a better solution to the overall problem, which is people should rely on public transportation more and shouldn't be so focused on thinking they need a car for themselves. On the first point, the complicated electronics that go within these cars really do shorten the real-world life expectancy of a vehicle. This is because car parts have been rising so much over the years, because as things get more electrical, they really put too much into them and it makes them a lot more expensive. So if we go to, according to Jenny List from Hackaday.com, when headlights fail, the replacement part is no longer a $5 switch, but a $1,000 electronic module behind the dashboard. I can say this from experience. Replacing a headlight on this car right here is extremely cheap. You just open up the headlight, you put a new bulb in, it's super simple. But then working on other cars, which I have worked on in the past, you do have to remove that dashboard, you do have to do all the work for that, and it takes hours, which is gonna add so much onto the cost of a mechanic fixing it for you, that majority of people, once the car starts to get like 5-10 years old, they're just gonna say, oh, it's not worth fixing this. I'm gonna sell it, I'm gonna junk it, and I'm gonna go buy a new car, which just adds to more waste. You're bringing more cars into the world, when to reduce pollution, you need to start to get rid of them. On my second point, the methods for obtaining those materials that are going into these electronics are expensive because of the way they're obtained. Like cobalt is one of the biggest resources that people use in electronics. It's in everything. It's in cell phones, it's in laptops, it's in refrigerators. This car battery right here, batteries take so much of it because it's required to make the electrodes function properly. And the cobalt is mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo primarily, and in the process of mining, it's done by artisanal mining, which is similar to how people were mining during the gold rush times in the 1800s, where you were digging by hand, you were using rocks to break other rocks, and overall these people are not treated well, they are not being paid well, and they're probably making about $2 a day, and that's like a high point. Also, it brings on child slavery. Child labor is a big problem with that. Going from Hermes, from the Human Trafficking Search, he states that studies are predicting a 30-fold increase in cobalt demand by 2030. This is going to make the problem significantly worse for people in the Congo. And overall, I think it's just something that people ignore way too much. And it's just such a problem that could be avoided by my third point here, which is public transportation is by far superior when we're talking about saving the world. More public transportation should be implemented, and that should be what we focus on to bring the country together. You shouldn't hop in your car and drive all the way from Iowa to Florida. It is one of the most wasteful ways to travel. I know it seems convenient, but it's just not good for the environment. A report from UCLA by Andy Pay estimates that public transportation in the U.S. saves 37 million metric tons of carbon dioxide annually. and reduces CO2 emissions by 45%. That is a massive statistic. That is about half of our emissions being cut just because people are not driving themselves. And that statistic does include electric vehicles and the way they're charged, all of that sort of manner. It just doesn't add up to why we're not focusing on public transportation. As an owner of multiple vehicles myself, I understand the attachment we have to our vehicles and why we think we need to own our one, but we should just kind of avoid those attachments and together move toward a better world-saving sort of mentality. In conclusion, while electric cars seem like a good solution to reduce pollution, they have serious problems. They are expensive to fix because of their complicated electronics. Their materials used to make these electronics come from borderline slavery, which is a horrible thing. I don't want to see anyone arguing on that. And instead of using cars in general and having our own vehicles, we should really just focus on public transportation. All right, I'd like to thank you all for coming to my speech. Thank you so much for coming. That's all I have. Let me see that real quick. So here's my audience one more time. Say hello. They were great today. And here are my 3 note cards one last time. All right, that'll be all. Thank you so much.